Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome back to Grow English Mastery. My name is Scarlett, and it's wonderful to have you here with me today. Have you ever thought about treasure? Not the kind from pirate movies with old wooden chests, but real, national treasure. I'm talking about mountains of pure, solid gold that back the economy of a world superpower. Today, we are going on an adventure. We're going to unlock the secrets behind one of the most famous and secure vaults on the planet, the United States Bullion Depository at Fort Knox. But this isn't just a story about gold. It's a story about trust, transparency, and a high-stakes political debate that involves some of the most famous names in the world, including President Donald Trump and the tech billionaire Elon Musk. It's a story that is happening right now, and it asks a very simple but powerful question. Who is counting America's gold, and can we trust the count? So, get comfortable, because this is going to be a fascinating journey. Today's lesson is designed to do more than just tell you an interesting story. By the end of our 40 minutes together, you will have achieved 3 important goals. First, you will understand a major political and economic debate happening in the United States, involving its gold reserves. This will help you understand news headlines and conversations on a much deeper level. Second, and this is a big one for many English learners, we are going to master a very important piece of grammar, the passive voice. I know, the passive voice can seem confusing. Many students tell me they find it tricky, but I promise you, by the end of this lesson, the passive voice will be made simple for you. You will understand why it is used, especially in news and formal reports, and how to use it correctly. And third, we will power up your vocabulary with 10 new, powerful words related to politics, finance, and accountability. You'll not only learn their meaning, but you'll see them used in real-world examples from our story today. This lesson is your key to sounding more knowledgeable and confident when discussing serious topics in English. So, are you ready? Let's begin. To understand our story, we first need to talk about a legendary place, Fort Knox. The name itself sounds strong and secure, doesn't it? Fort Knox is officially known as the United States Bullion Depository. A depository is a place where things are stored for safekeeping, and bullion means precious metals like gold or silver in the form of bars. So, Fort Knox is where a huge amount of America's gold is stored. This famous fortress was built in 1936, right in the middle of a very difficult time in history known as the Great Depression. At that time, the U.S. economy was in deep trouble. To help fix it, the President, Franklin D. Roosevelt, made a controversial decision. A new law was passed, and American citizens were ordered to sell their private gold to the government. This gold was collected from banks and individuals all across the country, and all of that collected gold needed a home. A new home that was incredibly secure, almost impossible to break into. That home was Fort Knox. It was designed to be the ultimate safe house for the nation's wealth. For decades, the world has believed that this gold is sitting safely in its vault. It is a symbol of America's economic strength. But recently, a serious question has emerged. A question that is making a lot of people nervous. The question is all the gold really there? The problem is that a full and complete audit of the gold at Fort Knox has not been conducted for many, many decades. An audit is an official inspection of an organization's accounts, and in this case, an inspection of the physical gold. Imagine, you have a savings box. You trust that your money is inside. But what if you hadn't actually opened it and counted the money in over 70 years? Would you still be 100% sure everything was there? That's the situation with America's gold. This lack of a recent audit is causing a big problem. It's eroding trust. To erode means to slowly destroy or wear something away. And the lack of transparency is eroding people's trust in the US government and in the US dollar. This is happening at a time when the government is spending a lot of money and the national debt is growing. People are worried about the future, and they are starting to ask for proof. They want the government to open the vault and prove that the gold is safe. This growing concern has led to a major new development. Just last week, 4 members of the U.S. Congress introduced a new bill. A bill is a proposal for a new law. This bill is called the Gold Reserve Transparency Act. The name tells you exactly what it's about: making the country's gold reserves transparent. Transparency means being open, honest, and not hiding anything. This proposed law is demanding some very specific things. First, it calls for a full audit, inventory, and inspection of all the gold that is held by the United States. An inventory is a complete list of items, so they want a detailed list of every single gold bar. Second, the bill demands full transparency on all gold-related transactions over the last 50 years. A transaction is an instance of buying or selling something. They want to know if any gold has been bought, sold, loaned, or swapped. In simple terms, they want to see all the receipts. One of the congressmen supporting the bill, Thomas Massey, said something very powerful. He said, "The American people deserve transparency and accountability from the institutions that are supposed to be good stewards of our nation's money." Accountability means being responsible for your actions and being able to explain them. He is saying the government has a duty to be honest with its citizens. This call for an audit is not just coming from politicians. Experts in the private sector are also raising alarms. Stefan Gleason, the CEO of a company that runs a massive private gold depository, has expressed deep concern. He said that decades have passed since the last real audit. He even mentioned that records have been lost by the Treasury Department, and that vaults were mysteriously opened and resealed without new audits being done. He said these sloppy procedures would never be accepted in a private business. An audit is not a one-time job. It needs to be done regularly to maintain trust. The situation, he says, is alarming and completely unacceptable. Alarming means it is worrying or frightening. This is where our story gets even more interesting and connects to the wider world. The push for this new law is happening as countries and investors around the globe are starting to diversify away from the US dollar. To diversify means to add variety. Instead of putting all their trust in the dollar, they are buying gold. Gold is seen as a safe asset because it has no third-party risk. Its value doesn't depend on a government's promise. It's just pure, valuable. Metal J.P. Cortez, who leads an organization called the Sound Money Defense League, supports the audit bill. He hopes it will help restore faith in the US dollar. He points out that central banks around the world are reducing their holdings of US dollars and are actively trying to repatriate their own gold. To repatriate means to bring something back to its own country. For example, for many years, Germany stored a lot of its gold in the United States. But recently, German politicians have expressed concern and are pushing for that gold to be returned to Germany. This shows that even America's allies are becoming worried. J.P. Cortez says that protecting America's gold is a matter of national security, because gold is the ultimate form of money, recognized everywhere in the world. Now let's bring in the famous personalities, Elon Musk and Donald Trump. This entire debate about government efficiency and trust is a stage where their different philosophies clash. Before this new bill was introduced, Elon Musk had publicly stated that he wanted to audit the Fort Knox gold reserves himself. He suggested doing this on behalf of a new government department he proposed, called DOGE, which stands for the Department of Government Efficiency. Of course, no official plan was ever made, but his statement showed his deep interest in questioning official stories and demanding proof. It's a classic Musk move. See a problem and suggest a direct, bold, and unconventional solution. On the other hand, Donald Trump, as a former president, represents the system that is now being questioned. The lack of an audit is something that has continued under many presidents from both political parties. The conflict isn't a direct personal fight between them on this specific issue, but a clash of ideas. Musk represents the outsider, the disruptor, who wants to use technology and a business mindset to force transparency. Trump represents the political establishment, which is now under pressure to prove it is accountable to the people. So, we have a situation where a group of politicians is taking official action with a new law. We have experts warning about the serious risks, and we have the symbolic presence of two of the most powerful figures in America, representing two different approaches to solving the problem. The question at the heart of it all remains: who will count the gold, and what will they find? The answer could change the world's trust in America forever. This is a perfect moment to pause our story and dive into our main grammar topic for today, the passive voice. You may have noticed that I have been using it a lot while telling the story. That was intentional. The passive voice is used constantly in news reports, official documents, and historical stories, exactly like the one we are discussing. So, what is the passive voice? Let's make it really simple. In most sentences, we use the active voice. The active voice focuses on the person or thing doing the action. For example, Congressman Massey sponsored the bill. The subject, Congressman Massey, is doing the action, sponsoring. The passive voice flips this around. It focuses on the person or thing that receives the action. The person who did the action becomes less important or is not mentioned at all. So, the active sentence, Congressman Massey sponsored the bill, becomes, the bill was sponsored by Congressman Massey. Do you see the change? The bill, which received the action, is now the subject of the sentence. The structure is subject, followed by a form of the verb to be, like is, are, was, were, has been, followed by the past participle of the main verb. The past participle is the third form of a verb, like spoken, written, or, in our example, sponsored. Why do we use the passive voice? There are a few key reasons. First, we use it when we don't know who did the action. For example, my car was stolen. We don't know who stole it. Second, we use it when it's not important who did the action. The action itself is the important part. For example, the law was passed last year. The important fact is that the law is now active, not necessarily every single person who voted for it. Third, and this is very relevant to our story, we use it in formal, objective, and scientific writing. It sounds more official and less personal. When you read a news headline like, "A new bill has been introduced," it sounds more formal than saying, "Some congressman introduced a new bill." It focuses your attention on the bill, which is the main subject of the news. Let's look at some examples from our story. Active. President Roosevelt built Fort Knox in 1936. Passive. Fort Knox was built in 1936. This is better for a history lesson because the focus is on Fort Knox, the famous place, not just the person who ordered its construction. Active. The Treasury Department has lost important records. Passive. Important records have been lost by the Treasury Department, or even more likely in a news report. Important records have been lost. The focus is on the problem, the lost records. Active. People need an audit to restore trust. Passive. An audit is needed to restore trust. This makes it sound like a general objective truth rather than just a personal opinion. The passive voice is your friend when you want to sound more formal and academic. It is a key part of reaching a higher level of English proficiency. We will look at more examples later, but for now, I want to give you some practical ways to practice what you've just learned. Learning is not just about listening to me talk. It's about you taking action. So here are some techniques you can use this week to practice both the story and the grammar we are learning today. First, for your listening skills, I want you to actively listen for the passive voice. When you watch the news in English, perhaps on BBC News, CNN, or Voice of America, pay close attention. How many times do you hear sentences where something was done or has been decided? Keep a small notebook and try to write down 3 examples you hear each day. This will train your ear to recognize it instantly. Second, for your reading skills, find an online news article about our topic today. Just search for Gold Reserve. Transparency Act. Read the article slowly. With a highlighter or just by copying sentences, identify every sentence that uses the passive voice. Then, try to change it back to the active voice. This exercise will deeply improve your understanding of the sentence structure. Third, for your speaking skills. This one might feel a little challenging, but it's so effective. Try to summarize the story of Fort Knox and the audit bill to a friend, or just to yourself in the mirror. Your challenge is to use the passive voice at least 5 times. You could say things like, Fort Knox was built to protect America's gold. For a long time, an audit has not been done. Now, a new bill has been introduced. It is hoped that transparency will be restored. Finally, for your writing skills. Write a short paragraph, maybe 100 words, about a famous building or landmark in your own country. Describe when it was built, who it was designed by, and what it is used for today. Your goal is to use the passive voice to make your writing sound like an official guidebook. This is excellent practice for formal writing. Remember, practice is the bridge between knowing and doing. Choose one or two of these techniques and try them this week. Now that we've covered the story and some practice techniques, it's time to zoom in on some of the most important words from our lesson. Building a strong vocabulary is like giving yourself superpowers in a new language. These 10 words will help you discuss today's topic with much more precision. Our first word is audit. That's spelled A-U-D-I-T, audit. An audit is an official examination of an organization's financial records to check that they are accurate. In our story, it also means a physical check of the gold itself. For example, the new bill calls for a complete audit of the US gold. Reserves. A regular audit is necessary to prevent fraud. Our second word is reserve, spelled R-E-S-E-R-V-E, reserve. A reserve is a supply of something that is available to be used if it is needed. We often talk about gold reserves, oil reserves, or cash reserves. For example, the country's gold reserve is stored at Fort Knox. It is important for a central bank to have strong foreign currency reserves. Our third word is transparency. This is a longer one, spelled T-R-A-N-S-P-A-R-E-N-C-Y, transparency. Transparency is the quality of being easy to perceive or detect. In this context, it means being open and honest, without secrets. For example, the congressmen are demanding more transparency from the Treasury Department. Transparency in government is essential for a healthy democracy. Next, we have legislation. Spelled L-E-G-I-S-L-A-T-I-O-N, legislation. Legislation is a law or a set of laws that have been passed by a parliament or Congress. The word bill refers to proposed legislation. Once it is passed, it becomes legislation. For example, the Gold Reserve Transparency Act is a piece of proposed legislation. New legislation was introduced to protect the environment. Our fifth word is accountability. Let's spell that out. A-C-C-O-U-N-T-A-B-I-L-I-T-Y, accountability. Accountability means being responsible for your actions and being able to explain them. For example, the bill is designed to increase government accountability. The CEO took full accountability for the company's failure. Number 6 is depository. Spelled D-E-P-O-S-I-T-O-R-Y, depository. A depository is a place where things, especially valuables, are stored for safekeeping. For example, Fort Knox is the official U.S. bullion depository. The company operates a private depository for gold and silver. Our seventh word is alarming. That's A-L-A-R-M-I-N-G, alarming. Alarming means worrying or disturbing. It describes a situation that makes you feel frightened or concerned. For example, the expert said the lack of audits was alarming. The rapid decline in the bird population is alarming. Next up, diversify, spelled Diversify. Diversify. To diversify means to start to produce a wider range of products or services, or in finance, to invest in a wider range of things to reduce risk. For example, investors are advised to diversify their portfolios away from just stocks. Many countries are trying to diversify their economies and not just rely on oil. Our ninth word is repatriate, spelled repatriate, repatriate. To repatriate means to send or bring something or someone back to their own country. For example, Germany is taking steps to repatriate its gold reserves from the United States. After the war, many refugees were repatriated, and our 10th and final word is ultimate. That's ultimate, ultimate. Ultimate means being the best or most extreme example of its kind. It can also mean final or fundamental. For example, J.P. Cortez called gold the ultimate form of money. Her ultimate goal is to become a doctor. There you have it. 10 powerful words. Try to use one or two of them this week in your writing or speaking practice. Now that we've powered up our vocabulary, let's move on to the next section and review our grammar point with even more detail. We're going to look at more specific examples of the passive voice right from our story. Seeing it in context is the best way to make it stick in your mind. Let's look closer at the passive voice in our story. We can organize our examples into a few categories. First, let's talk about the bill, the Gold Reserve Transparency Act. Notice how these sentences focus on the bill itself. The bill has been introduced in Congress. It was sponsored by 4 representatives. If the bill is passed, a full audit will be conducted. Here, the focus is on the bill and its journey, not just the people behind it. Second, let's talk about the gold. The gold is the object of everyone's attention, so the passive voice is perfect for describing it. A large amount of gold is stored at Fort Knox. It is believed that the gold has not been audited for decades. Concerns have been expressed that some gold may have been sold or leased. In these sentences, the gold is the subject. We are describing what is done to it or what is thought about it. Third, let's talk about the need for action and public opinion. The passive voice is great for expressing general beliefs or official needs. It is said that trust in the dollar is being eroded. An audit is needed to restore public confidence. The American people deserve to be told the truth about their assets. Using "it is said" or "it is believed" is a very common way to report a general opinion without naming a specific source. It's a very useful structure for formal essays and discussions. Let's try a quick exercise together. I will give you an active sentence, and I want you to try to change it into the passive voice. Ready? Active sentence. Elon Musk proposed the Department of Government Efficiency. Think about it. The object is the Department of Government Efficiency. The passive sentence would be, the Department of Government Efficiency was proposed by Elon Musk. Excellent. Let's try one more. Active sentence. The government must protect the nation's assets. The object is the nation's assets. The passive sentence would be, The nation's assets must be protected by the government. Or even more simply, the nation's assets must be protected. You see? The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. The passive voice isn't scary. It's just a different way of looking at a sentence. It's a tool, and today, you have learned how to use it. Now, I want to share a short, inspirational story with you. It connects to our theme today: transparency and accountability. The story of the Gold Reserve Transparency Act is about a country wanting to look inside its own treasure chest, to be honest with itself and the world. This idea of a self-audit, of being transparent and accountable, is not just important for governments. It's incredibly important for us as individuals, especially as language learners. Think about your English learning journey as your own personal Fort Knox. Inside you have treasures, the vocabulary you know, the grammar you've mastered, your listening skills, your confidence. But sometimes we are afraid to do an honest audit of our skills. We are afraid to open the vault and see what's really inside. Maybe we are afraid to discover that our grammar is not as strong as we thought, or that we are missing some vocabulary. But, just like the experts in our story said, an audit is not a one-time thing, and it's not something to be feared. An honest audit of your English skills is the most powerful step you can take towards real improvement. It means being brave enough to say, I am not good at the passive voice yet, or I need to practice my pronunciation of this word. That admission is not a failure. It is the beginning of a plan. It is transparency. When you are honest about your weaknesses, you can start to fix them. You can seek help. You can find the right lessons. You can practice with purpose. The congressmen in our story are asking for an audit because they want to build a stronger, more trustworthy foundation for their country's future. I encourage you to do the same for your English. Be your own auditor. Be brave, be honest, and be accountable to your own goals. Don't hide from your mistakes. Shine a light on them, because that is where the real learning happens. That is how you build a foundation of English skills that is as strong and as valuable as solid gold. We have covered so much ground today. We've traveled to Fort Knox. We've explored a major political debate. We've mastered the passive voice. And we've learned 10 new words. It's time to bring it all together. So, what are our key takeaways from this lesson? First, we learned about the important and ongoing debate over auditing the US gold reserves. We learned about the Gold Reserve Transparency Act and why transparency and accountability are so important for a government and its currency. Second, we took a deep dive into the passive voice. We learned that the passive voice is formed with the verb to be and a past participle. And we learned that it is used to focus on the receiver of an action, especially in formal, official, and news contexts. It is a key tool for higher-level English. And third, we have added 10 fantastic words to our vocabulary: audit, reserve, transparency, legislation, accountability, depository, alarming, diversify, repatriate, and ultimate. These words will allow you to discuss complex topics with more confidence. Before we finish, I want to leave you with a final message of encouragement. Learning a language is a marathon, not a sprint. There will be days when you feel like you are not making progress. There will be grammar points that seem impossible to understand at first. There will be times when you are afraid to speak because you might make a mistake. Please, remember this. Every single mistake is a learning opportunity. It is a sign that you are trying, that you are pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. And that is the only place where growth happens. Be persistent, be patient with yourself, and most importantly, be confident. Trust in your ability to learn and improve. You are capable of so much more than you think. Thank you so much for joining me today at Grow English Mastery. Your time and your effort are valuable. I hope this lesson was found to be helpful and interesting for you. Now, I would love to hear from you. What do you think about the story? Should the US Gold be audited? What is your opinion? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. I read every single one. And if you enjoyed this lesson and want more deep dives into fascinating topics like this one, please show your support by hitting the like button, sharing this video with a friend who is also learning English, and of course, subscribing to Grow English Mastery so you don't miss our next lesson. Until then, keep practicing, stay curious, and be proud of your progress. I'm Scarlett, and I can't wait to see you again next time. Goodbye for now. Hello and a very warm welcome to Grow English Mastery. My name is Scarlett, and I am so glad you are here for what is going to be a truly explosive lesson. What happens when two of the most powerful and famous men in the world have a very public fight? It's more than just drama. It's a battle that can affect national policy, billion-dollar companies, and the political landscape. Today, we are diving into a clash of titans, a high-profile feud between the former President of the United States, Donald Trump, and the billionaire CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, Elon Musk. This is a story of how a powerful alliance turned into a bitter rivalry, playing out for the whole world to see on social media. We will explore the accusations, the threats, and the personal insults that have defined this incredible conflict. Our learning goals for today are exciting and very practical. First, we will follow this dramatic real-life story to improve our English listening and comprehension. Second, we will learn 10 key vocabulary words that are essential for understanding modern political and business disputes. Third, we will master 2 very useful grammar and language points. We will compare direct and reported speech, and we will learn some common informal English idioms that you hear in everyday conversation. And finally, you'll get some great tips on how you can practice these skills. This lesson proves that learning English can be as exciting as watching a thriller movie. We are going to break down this complex feud into a simple, clear narrative. So, let's get ready for the main event. To truly understand this feud, we need to remember that these two men were not always enemies. In fact, Elon Musk once served as an advisor to President Trump. They were, for a time, allies. But that relationship has spectacularly fallen apart. The most recent and explosive conflict was ignited by a massive new legislative package, a super bill, proposed by the Trump administration. Just minutes before the Senate was scheduled to hold a critical vote on this bill, Elon Musk launched a fierce public attack. Using his social media platform X, where he has over 220 million followers, Musk did not hold back. He called the new bill insane and destructive. He claimed it would destroy millions of U.S. jobs and strategically harm the country. He argued that the bill protected old, outdated industries, while severely damaging the industries of the future. But he didn't stop there. He made a direct political threat to the president's party. He warned, "The polls show that this bill is political suicide for the Republican Party." Political suicide is a powerful phrase. It means an action that is so unpopular or damaging that it will cause a politician or a political party to lose immense support and power. The feud also got very personal. In separate posts, Musk even made a very serious accusation linking President Trump to the disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein. This was a claim that the White House strongly denied. Later, Musk posted an apology for some of his posts, admitting, "I regret some of my posts about President Donald Trump last week. I went too far." This phrase, "to go too far," means to behave in a way that is considered unacceptable. This apology showed just how personal and messy the conflict had become. So, how did President Trump respond to this public attack from the world's richest man? He retaliated with equal force, also using his own social media platform, Truth Social. First, President Trump offered his own explanation for why Musk was so angry. He claimed it wasn't about policy, but about money and power. He said Musk was upset for two main reasons. The first reason was that the new bill would end the large federal subsidies for electric vehicles. Subsidies are money given by a government to help an industry or business. These subsidies are very beneficial to Musk's company, Tesla. The second reason, according to Trump, was that he had rejected a person that Musk had recommended to be the new leader of NASA, the American Space Agency. After giving his reasons, Trump went on the attack. He belittled Musk with a personal insult, writing, "Elon started getting lippy, and I asked him to leave." The informal phrase "to get lippy" means to speak to someone in a rude or disrespectful way. Then President Trump made a very serious and powerful threat. He threatened to cut the federal contracts and subsidies that go to Musk's companies. This is a huge threat. Musk's company SpaceX, for example, has billions of dollars in contracts with the US government to launch satellites and astronauts into space. Cutting these contracts would be a direct attack on Musk's business empire. This feud is more than just a fight between two famous people. It is a historic clash between two different kinds of power. On one side, you have the immense political power of the President of the United States. On the other side, you have the immense technological, financial, and media power of Elon Musk, a man who controls key industries and one of the world's largest social media platforms. The outcome of this battle could have enormous consequences. Now, to better understand this war of words, let's learn some key vocabulary. Here are 10 important terms from our story. Our first word, feud. Feud is spelled F-E-U-D. A feud is a long and bitter argument or fight between two people, families, or groups. For example, the lesson is about the explosive feud between Trump and Musk. The feud between the two families has lasted for generations. Our second word, bill. Bill is spelled B-I-L. In a political context, a bill is a formal statement of a planned new law that is discussed before being voted on. For example, Musk strongly criticized the new legislative bill. Congress is expected to vote on the bill next week. Our third word, criticize. Criticize is spelled C-R-I-T-I-C-I-Z-E. To criticize someone or something is to express disapproval of them by talking about their faults. For example, the billionaire used his platform to criticize the new law. His boss criticized him for being late to work. Our fourth word, retaliate. Retaliate is spelled R-E-T-A-L-I-A-T-E. To retaliate is to hurt someone or do something harmful to someone because they have done the same to you. For example, the president threatened to retaliate by cutting federal contracts. If you attack them, they will surely retaliate. Our fifth word, subsidy. Subsidy is spelled S-U-B-S-I-D-Y. A subsidy is money given by a government or an organization to help an industry or business keep the price of a service or product low. For example, the bill would end the federal subsidy for electric vehicles. The government provides a large subsidy to farmers. Our sixth word, contract. Contract is spelled C-O-N-T-R-A-C-T. A contract is a legal document that states and explains a formal agreement between two different people or groups. For example, SpaceX has many government contracts. You should always read a contract carefully before you sign it. Our seventh word, ally. Ally is spelled A-L-L-Y. An ally is a person or country that helps and supports another. For example, Musk was once considered an ally of the president. During the crisis, they were our most important ally. Our eighth term, political suicide. Political suicide is spelled P-O-L-I-T-I-C-A-L-S-U-I-C-I-D-E. Political suicide is an action that will cause a politician or political party to lose their power or position. For example, Musk warned that passing the bill would be political suicide. Voting against the popular opinion was an act of political suicide for the senator. Our ninth word, explosive. Explosive is spelled explosive. In this context, explosive means a situation that is very sudden, loud, or exciting, and likely to cause angry or dangerous feelings. For example, the feud between the two men has become explosive. The meeting was explosive, with a lot of shouting. And our 10th word, consequences. Consequences is spelled consequences. Consequences are the results or effects of a particular action or situation. For example, this public feud could have serious consequences for both men. He must face the consequences of his actions. These are great words for describing modern conflicts. Now, let's look at the grammar and language that bring this drama to life. Our first grammar point today is looking at direct speech versus reported speech. Our story is full of direct quotes, especially from social media. It's a great opportunity to understand the difference. Direct speech is when we use the exact words that someone said. We put these words inside quotation marks. For example, Musk's direct quote was, "This is absolutely insane and destructive." We use direct speech when we want to show the speaker's exact emotion and personality. It has a very strong impact. Reported speech, which we have studied before, is when we report what someone said without using their exact words. We often use the word that, and we change the verb tense. For example, Musk said that the bill was absolutely insane and destructive. We use reported speech when we want to summarize what someone said or integrate it more smoothly into a paragraph. Let's compare. Direct speech. From Trump. Elon started getting lippy, and I asked him to leave. This is very powerful. You can hear his voice and his attitude. Reported speech. President Trump said that Elon had started getting lippy and that he had asked him to leave. This is more formal and distant. It reports the information but with less emotional impact. So, a good writer or speaker chooses between direct and reported speech depending on the effect they want to create. Our second language point today is learning some informal English and idioms. The language used in this feud was not always formal. Let's look at some of the phrases. To go too far. This means to do something that is considered extreme or unacceptable. Example, when Musk apologized, he said, "I went too far." To get lippy. This is a very informal idiom that means to be disrespectful or rude when you speak to someone, especially someone in a position of authority. Example, Trump accused Musk of getting lippy. To call someone out. This means to criticize someone publicly for something they have said or done. Example, Elon Musk called out the president's new bill on social media. A war of words. This is a phrase used to describe an argument between two people or groups that is fought by publicly criticizing each other. Example, The media is reporting on the war of words between Musk and Trump. Learning these informal phrases is very important because you will hear them all the time in movies, on social media, and in conversations between native speakers. How can you practice this? Try finding a short interview on YouTube. Listen to a question and answer. First, write down the exact words the person said, direct speech. Then, try to rewrite it in your own words, using reported speech. For the idioms, try to write a new sentence for each one to help you remember its meaning. To finish our lesson, I want to share another story of a famous rivalry between two titans, but one that ended very differently. This is the story of Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. For decades, Jobs, the co-founder of Apple, and Gates, the co-founder of Microsoft, were the two biggest figures in the personal computer revolution. They were also bitter rivals. Their companies competed fiercely. They often criticized each other publicly. Jobs famously accused Gates and Microsoft of making products with no taste and no originality. Gates thought Jobs was often difficult and strange. Their rivalry defined the tech industry for many years. It was a true clash of titans. But as they got older, something changed. After Jobs was forced out of Apple for a time, and then returned to save it, and after Gates stepped down from Microsoft to focus on his philanthropic work with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, their perspective shifted. They began to talk and meet occasionally. In a famous joint interview in 2007, they sat on stage together, laughing and sharing stories about the old days. They praised each other's contributions. Gates said he admired Jobs' incredible taste and design skill. Jobs said he admired how Gates had built Microsoft and then dedicated his life to giving his fortune away to solve the world's biggest health problems. Near the end of Steve Jobs' life, Bill Gates visited him at his home. They talked for hours about their families, their lives, and what they had learned. The rivalry had softened and transformed into a deep, mutual respect. They understood that they were two of the very few people on the planet who knew what it was like to build something that changed the world. Their story shows that even the most intense feuds can end with wisdom and appreciation. We have explored a truly dramatic clash of personalities today. Let's review our key takeaways. First, we learned about the explosive feud between Donald Trump and Elon Musk, which started over a new legislative bill and escalated into personal attacks and business threats. Second, we learned 10 key vocabulary words to describe this conflict, including feud, retaliate, subsidy, and political suicide. Third, we mastered two important language points: understanding the difference in impact between direct and reported speech, and learning some common informal English idioms like to go too far and to get lippy. I hope this lesson was not only useful for your English but also a fascinating look at the intersection of power, personality, and politics. You are building the skills to understand these complex and important stories from the real world. Thank you so much for your hard work and for joining me today at Grow English Mastery. If you enjoyed this lesson, please let us know in the comments. And of course, please don't forget to like this video, share it with a friend, and subscribe to our channel for more exciting lessons. Keep learning, stay curious, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Goodbye for now. Hello and a very warm welcome to Grow English Mastery. My name is Scarlett, and I am so glad you are here for a lesson that feels like it was pulled directly from today's headlines. Have you ever heard the English phrase, to be hoisted by your own petard? It's a fascinating idiom that means to be hurt or defeated by the very weapon or trap that you created to harm someone else. Well, just this morning, on July Honest, we witnessed a real-life example of this ultimate irony in a battle between two of the world's most powerful men. Today, the explosive feud between President Donald Trump and billionaire Elon Musk has taken a shocking new turn. This isn't just a war of words anymore. The president has proposed a new line of attack, and in a stunning plot twist, he wants to use Elon Musk's own creation as the weapon against him. It is a story so full of irony. It's hard to believe it's not from a movie. Our learning goals for today are to dive deep into this real-world drama. First, we will understand the latest escalation in this incredible feud. Second, we will learn 10 essential vocabulary words that are key to understanding politics and finance. Third, we will master 2 very useful grammar points. The second conditional, for talking about hypothetical situations, and infinitives of purpose, for explaining why actions are taken. And finally, you'll get some great tips on how to practice this new language. This lesson will show you how to understand the complex language of power, politics, and personal rivalries. So, let's get started and unravel this incredible story. To understand today's news, we need to quickly remember where this conflict started. As we've discussed, this feud began when Elon Musk fiercely criticized a massive new economic bill from the Trump administration. Musk's main argument was that the bill would massively increase government spending and add to America's already huge national debt. The disagreement became very public and very personal, leading to what many called a political breakup. The situation got even more intense when Musk, expressing his frustration with both major political parties, called for a new political party that actually cares about the people, just last night, on June 30th. This brings us to the events of this morning, July Honest. President Trump has escalated the conflict dramatically. He went on his social media platform, Truth Social, and proposed a new plan. He suggested that a government organization should investigate and possibly cut billions of dollars in federal funding that goes to Elon Musk's companies, like Tesla and SpaceX. In his post, he attacked Musk directly and personally. He claimed that Elon Musk receives more government money than anyone else in history. He wrote, "Without government funding, Elon would probably have had to close his companies and pack his bags and go back to South Africa." He argued that if the government cut this funding for rocket tests, satellites, and electric cars, the country would save a fortune. Then he made his specific proposal. He asked, "Maybe we should have Doge look into this. Would save big money." So what is Doge? Doge stands for the Department of Government Efficiency. And this, right here, is the incredible, unbelievable twist in the story. The great irony is that Doge is an organization that Elon Musk himself worked tirelessly to create. He was a major force behind its creation. The entire purpose of Doge was to find ways to cut wasteful government spending. Musk used his influence to help Doge cut budgets and even fire federal employees, all in the name of saving money. Now, in a stunning turn of events, President Trump is proposing to use Musk's own creation, his own tool for efficiency, against him. He is suggesting that the most efficient thing to do would be to cut the funding to Musk's own companies. It is a masterful political move, a real-life example of being hoisted by your own petard. And the stakes are incredibly high. This is not just a symbolic threat. Elon Musk's business empire is deeply connected to the US government. Over the years, his companies, including Tesla and SpaceX, have received at least $38 billion in government contracts, loans, subsidies, and tax breaks. This government support was a key foundation that helped him become the world's richest person. SpaceX, for example, holds the primary contract with NASA for the Starship project, which is planned to take astronauts back to the Moon and eventually to Mars. This public feud is already having real-world consequences. Elon Musk is facing heavy criticism from many people, and the stock prices of his companies have been falling. This latest move by the president is the most serious threat yet to Musk's businesses. Now, to better understand this complex and ironic situation, let's learn some key vocabulary. Here are 10 important terms from our story. Our first word, funding. Funding is spelled F-U-N-D-I-N-G. Funding is money given by a government or organization for a special purpose. For example, the president proposed cutting federal funding for Musk's companies. Our school received funding for a new library. Our second word, budget. Budget is spelled B-U-D-G-E-T. A budget is a plan that shows how much money you have and how you will spend it. For example, Musk was worried the new bill would increase the government budget deficit. I need to create a monthly budget to save more money. Our third term, national debt. National debt is spelled nationaldebt. The national debt is the total amount of money that a country's government has borrowed. For example, Musk is concerned about the growing national debt. Reducing the national debt is a major political challenge. Our fourth word, irony. Irony is spelled irony. Irony is a situation that is strange or funny because it is the opposite of what you expect. For example, the great irony is that Trump wants to use Musk's own creation against him. In a strange irony, the firefighter's house burned down. Our fifth term, escalate. Escalate is spelled E-S-C-A-L-A-T-E. To escalate means to become or make something become greater, more serious, or more intense. For example, the feud between the two men has continued to escalate. A small disagreement can sometimes escalate into a big fight. Our sixth term, government contract. Government contract is spelled government contract. A government contract is a formal agreement for a private company to provide goods or services to the government. For example, SpaceX has billions of dollars in government contracts with NASA. Winning a government contract can be very profitable for a business. Our seventh word, efficiency. Efficiency is spelled E-F-F-I-C-I-E-N-C-Y. Efficiency is the quality of working well in a quick and organized way,